Good Wednesday to you, Pelham Road. I'm joined today by Jay Briggs. Hello, Jay.
Hey, good morning.
I need to tell y'all something. It's a little secret. I don't tell this to everybody, but Jay is my favorite Elon graduate. Right? He's a graduate of Elon University, the Elon Phoenix, I believe is right.
That's right. That's right. The Phoenix rose from the ashes. The school burned down in like the early 1900s, and then so when they rebranded themselves like in the late 90s, they decided that they would use that as a sort of format for
That's
that
clever.
rebranding. Yeah.
That's clever. And Jay received a BFA, that's a bachelor's in fine arts from there. Then he went on out west to the Seattle School of Theology and Psychology, where he got a master's of art in theology and culture. Of course, his real claim to fame is that he somehow convinced Amanda to marry him. I
I
don't
know, right?
that.
Somehow.
And
But I won't tell her that that I'm your favorite Elon grad, though. We'll let that be a secret.
let that be a secret. And then their daughter Cordelia, and you have another one on the way, right?
We do. Yeah. So that's I mean, I guess it's not super recent development. Amanda's about 21 weeks.
Okay.
So due at the end of May.
If my math is right, that's about halfway.
About halfway. So I think Amanda wishes it was a little further along than halfway, but we're doing it.
All right. Now, just so that the people who are listening into this know, Jay and I pretty much work without a net. Okay, we don't really know where we're heading with this, and we'll at the end of the 30 minutes we'll see if it's worth publishing, or we may have to just burn it. All right.
Yeah, we might burn it. That's fine.
So, what are you working on these days, Jay?
Uh, well, I mean, it is interesting. I am getting ready to go into rehearsal again for the first time in a year. And it's funny because I had sort of told myself I was going to take a sabbatical at the end of last season. And then the sabbatical kind of got forced on me, whether I wanted to take it or not, because everything kind of closed down.
Well,
but anyway, what's that?
Let me say this. Let me remind everybody. Jay is a director of plays. Okay, he's done some at the Warehouse Theater, and I think that's where you're working right now.
Yeah.
Done others at the Lean Assembly or
Ensemble. Yeah, Lean Ensemble Theater,
which is in Hilton Head, and Mill Mountain, which is in Roanoke, Virginia, I believe.
Yeah, Roanoke, Virginia. That was where we were before we came back to Greenville most recently.
So you're not going to be able to do in person at the Warehouse, but y'all do have something in works, right?
Yeah. So we've been trying to be pretty. We're being very cautious, and we also have to be given that we have a specific relationship with the Actors Union that requires certain protocols, and so in-person performance is not on the table right now. So we've been pivoting and trying to do some creative things, and one of which is when I'm getting to direct. We start rehearsal in a couple weeks in February. I've already started having design conversations and that sort of thing. But it's a play called Fire in the Garden by a playwright named Ken Weitzman, and it's essentially set as it's like a 40-minute monologue, which may sound maybe like not something you want to tune into, but I promise you it's pretty fascinating. But the format of it, one of the things we've been trying to do at Warehouse is like finding things where the content fits the form, so it doesn't just feel like you're doing a second-rate version of a play that you would want to see in person. Mm-hmm. So like the context of this is that the narrator of the piece is recording a sort of like a video diary kind of as a gift to his soon to be 1-year-old son. And so the fact that it's a video fits because that is what the actual content would be anyway. So yeah, and it's a really interesting play. It's about that is sort of questioning the responsibilities of fatherhood, and so it's something that hits home really poignantly to me at the moment, and why I felt like I had a great connection to it. So what are the responsibilities of fatherhood, especially in a time as sort of chaotic as we are living through at the moment? in all the variety of ways that we've seen that over the past year and years preceding that as well. But asked some big questions around faith and that sort of thing too. So it's kind of a perfect show for me in the moment right now, and I'm looking forward to getting started on it.
Well, because it's as you say, it's a video of a man.
Yeah.
I can imagine that would translate well to the present. The way y'all are presenting it is you go online and you register and you will download, I guess, the event.
Yeah, you'll stream it, but it's not a live stream. It'll be pre-recorded, and so it's kind of view at your convenience for like a 2-week window. So that's, it's been interesting to see how theaters have adapted over the past year to kind of to keep the wheels rolling, but try to do it in new and unique ways. And there's been some great opportunities. I mean, we did a show earlier this year at the Warehouse that we collaborated with some people, with a couple that are sort of like a creative team, a director, playwright, who live in California. And they were friends, contacts from my boss's previous life out in LA. And so we were able to work with them, and that kind of increased the theater's exposure because we had a lot of people from California seeing the show, as well as people from all over the country and internationally as well. So it's an interesting thing for like a local theater like us, to be able to kind of expand our network a little bit based on contacts that we all have that are national and international. So it's pretty cool.
Well, I would think, flipping the laptop up and watching it, it would be very much like, you're witnessing this guy on video, like his son would be witnessing it, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's what we've been trying to do, is find these ways where we can make the content match the form. Or fit the form in a way that's unique and makes it feel like, oh, there's a purpose for like viewing this content this way. So I hope it feels that way when people see it. And I think it's going to be, content wise, I think it is an interest. It has some interesting questions to ask, and and I think it'll be a fun. It'll be a fun viewing experience, and it's not very long, and it's gonna be an interesting process for me. I've never directed film before, and this is definitely going to feel like a bit of a hybrid, because it's going to be all one cut. Like it's not like there's going to be an editing process that I have to go through or anything like that. But we'll be playing with a different medium. I mean, directing an actor to work with a camera will be a different kind of process for me. So I'm excited about that too.
All right. Well, best of luck with that. And
thanks.
We're going to move on to the next. What day will that begin? Can you tell the people?
It'll be released for viewing on February 15th, and then it's available to view through the end of the month. So
they can go to warehouse.com, or what is it?
Yeah. So it'll be at warehousetheater.com. Okay. And I can send information once the tickets go on sale. They should go on sale in the next couple of weeks.
All right. So now we'll move on to the second portion of this.
This is where we're really walking above the net. John was, or without the net. John was gracious enough to say he'd let me talk about what I'm up to, and now it's when I have to improvise.
The question is, what makes a good sermon?
Yeah, that is a good question. I feel like you're putting me on the spot, John.
And bear in mind, anything that John does,
that John does is perfect. No,
people can make comments below, and they can chime in with their opinion about what makes a good sermon.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things that I think are. So I grew up with a pastor that I in some ways credit for like making in sort of pushing me along the path of being a storyteller as a profession, because I think stories are a big part of what makes a sermon effective, because I think a sermon is in just like a good piece of art or theater should be appealing to both your intellect and your heart and your spirit at the same time, right?
Right.
I think there's a way to do both, and the most effective sermons do that, I think. You know, I get a little not just bored, but sort of I don't know, just tired of sermons that feel like lectures with a PowerPoint slide, you know.
Yeah.
I think because I think and you tell me how you feel about this, John. I think, like, because I don't mean to sort of define your role for you in some ways, but I think part of how I've always understood being a pastor is in some ways like sort of painting a picture of a sort of painting a picture for the congregation of like what the good life should be. And I think that requires some sense of narrative and imagery that is beyond the dry sort of collegiate lecture.
Right. Well, sermons can go in a variety of directions. I mean, we've all seen the lecture you're speaking of, whether it was an academic lecture or a non-academic lecture. We've all seen the person who just, what they thought they were teaching was the Bible. And what you're teaching are real humans.
Yeah.
They're people. They're people. And you're wanting to interact with those people. I think maybe, again, it goes back to my mother a little bit on this as to the way I work a sermon, or the way I think about sermon preparation. You know, a good meal would have a protein, a vegetable, and a starch. And that would be a good meal, plus a dessert.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely dessert. And so that would be a balanced meal. And I think that when you're preaching a sermon, you do have to have the protein. You have to have the meat of whatever the text is actually talking about. You know, you can't ignore that. But you do have to have the vegetable and the starch that is more of the illustration or the story that you spoke of that pulls it all together. Otherwise, you're just eating a, piece of chicken.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would say the other thing, and this may be where I get in a little bit of hot water, and you tell me if I'm totally off base, but I would say that I think the best sermons, ironically, are like shy away from being too didactic, and are not necessarily about like connecting all the dots for the congregation, but are about showing, but sort of shining a light on where the dots are, and like allowing each individual congregant to like sort of make some of the connections themselves. I think one of the things we talk about as in theater, right, is like trusting our audience to do some of the work. And so I think I often think about the best sermons doing that too, that like that there's a way to sort of sort of shepherd the congregation without giving them all the answers, right?
Well, like I think that Jesus trusted his congregation too much.
Parables, right? Like parables don't have easy answers.
Well, like Mark 4 is a good story. It's a great parable. Jesus is talking about a sower sowing seed. Some seed falls on hard ground, some seed falls in the vines, some seed falls on fertile ground and it grows. All right. But that he didn't connect the dots for them. Originally, that's the way he told it. And he just let it lay there, trusting that they could figure that out. Well, later that night, they come back to him, the disciples do, and they say, well, you didn't tell everybody else what the secret was. What's the explanation to that? They didn't actually get it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly.
I think Jesus wanted them to fill in the space and think deeply about it, but they themselves, they probably just testified to the fact that most of us are lazy.
True.
Please tell us the solution here.
Just give us the answer, you know?
Yeah. But part of good sermonizing is leaving the people with something that they have to talk about over lunch, that that they have to mull over, even if they're arguing with the preacher, even if they're going to lunch saying, I can't believe he said that. That just seems so outlandish to say.
Yeah.
That. Oh, okay, you're still talking about it. You're still thinking about it.
And that's what we hope a good play does too, you know, and that's why it's like, I'm often, I often say that, like, growing up in the church and being, being there 3 times a week because my dad worked there, and like, it has informed the way I think about my vocation, probably more than anything else.
I imagine it has.
Yeah.
Hard to get away from that. Well, I did, since we are talking about stories, that's the sort of the theme that's holding all this together. Your story that you're presenting in a few weeks, the story of preaching. And now we move on to, I do not let the opportunity pass when I'm talking to a young father to talk about the books that they're reading. And they're usually reading the books that their young daughter's reading. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Tell me what you and Cordelia are reading these days.
So I was prepped for this one because I brought some samples here.
Show the folks a couple, because there are some young families that watch this, and so this might give them some ideas, some books to buy this spring.
Sure. So Cordelia's gotten into like graphic novels. So Cordelia's in first grade, and we're really starting to bridge that gap between we still read together, obviously, but she's also doing some independent reading, and so we're trying to find a balance between things that, like, she can read herself, and so she really likes graphic novels, and she got, I think, was this for her birthday or Christmas? I can't remember. They're so close together. She's an early January birthday, but she's been reading Smell My Foot, Chicken Brain, which is pretty fun. And this is one that she reads to us.
Okay.
The reading level is such that she can do that. Although she does prefer, I think, sometimes when Amanda reads it, because Amanda's, brings some acting flair to it, does character such. We've also been reading, also in the graphic novel realm. She got a video game for Christmas that she's obsessed with at the moment called Splatoon. I don't know if anybody knows about this game. It's pretty fun. Like, I also have fun battling 10-year-olds online, so that's a little guilty pleasure at the moment. But this is like another little graphic novel based on that video game, and it's also, this was very interesting to try to figure out how to read because it's a Japanese translation, and so it's written, so Japanese, I guess they read right to left and up to down,
like Hebrew.
Yeah, like Hebrew. And so it was very confusing to sort of like get into the stream of that. Another one that she's been reading, I don't know, is this the one and only Ivan. This was I don't know, the movie. There's supposed to be a movie coming out, I think, or has come out, and we missed it. But
Ivan is an ape.
Yeah, Ivan's an ape, and he has like an elephant friend, and he lives in a shopping mall. And this is one that she's actually reading this one on her own, but it's slow pace. Like
there's no pictures in it, right?
There's a few small pictures, but it's not like
that's quite the accomplishment for a first grader.
Well, yeah, and it's not like, I mean, she's working her way through it a few pages at a time, and this is one we're trying to challenge her on, let her read a few pages, and we sit beside her and I'll read my book and she'll read, and then she'll, if she comes up with a word she needs help with, she'll ask. And then another one that she's read a couple times, we've been reading together. This is what we read to her, but I recommend this book if anybody is looking for a resource on helping your friends navigate friendship, or helping your kids navigate friendships. Okay. This has been really helpful. It's actually been really helpful for me. I read it and I'm like, there's some times that I'm like, oh yeah, I have some maybe not great friendship behaviors that I need to that some of this advice might be helpful on. So
Hold that up again.
Good because we've been she's been interested. She has a couple like really good friends, but she wants to like sort of broaden her social circle, which has also
hold that up again.
Challenging this year. But anyway.
Hold that up one more time. Hold that up one more time. Who's the author?
The author is Dr. Eileen Kennedy Moore.
Okay.
And Christine McLaughlin. Right. So anyway.
And I hope one of the things that you heard Jay say was that sometimes, and I think that this was great in our home, is you read and they read. You lay down together and they read their book and they witness you reading your book. And if you want to develop a reader in your home, the most important thing is to have books in the home. The second most important thing is for them to see you reading.
Yeah.
They see you reading and see you enjoying it. They'll want to do it too. So now, Jay, we come to my favorite time of every episode that I do with when I do an interview. It's the underappreciated, overappreciated. Okay.
Okay, great.
Actually, it's overrated, underrated. Okay?
Overrated, underrated. Yeah.
And I got this from a podcast that I listened to that he would be talking to people who were scientists and he would ask them these stupid questions at the end that had nothing to do with their profession called overrated, underrated. So while there is going to be something in here about theater, most of this is not about theater. Okay?
Great. Love it.
All right. Overrated or underrated? Avocado.
Oh man, that's tough because I mean I like a good avocado. I'm stereotypical millennial, I guess. People think I can't afford a home because I eat avocado toast. But maybe overrated these days. Overrated. There's a lot of talk of avocado. It's great, but like it's hard to say that it's over, or that it's hard to say that it's underrated at this point.
Right. And I think that's why these questions are difficult, is because underrated is an entirely different question.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, avocado's fine, but all right. Phantom of the Opera, overrated or underrated?
Overrated. Overrated. Sorry. No, it's fine. But like, should it be the longest running show on Broadway? I don't know.
All right. How about Wizard of Oz?
Wizard of Oz, the movie or the music or the stage musical?
The stage musical.
Stage musical. Yeah, it's probably underrated. It's I have a special connection to that show. That was my sister's senior play. She played Dorothy. Mm-hmm. So I have a special, and it was also the first, that's also like the first community theater play I ever did. So I was special. I was a munchkin, and a flying monkey and all that. So
underrated, definitely.
Underrated.
All right. Hot chocolate.
Hot chocolate. Overrated. Give me coffee every day. Black coffee is all I want.
Big screen TV, underrated or overrated?
I'm gonna probably overrated. We do fine with our small one. Although then I go and sit in my dad's house and I'm like, wow, okay, maybe it does make a difference. But yeah, no, overrated.
All right. Well, that kind of ends it for overrated, underrated. At least that I have written down here.
Yeah.
Your response to Wizard of Oz made me think of something though. One of our members that died a few years ago was a minister, and he had a very an extraordinary fondness for the Sound of Music. And I've listened to the Sound of Music all my life, but after talking to him, I went back and I listened to it again. It is really a great musical. I just, practically every song on that soundtrack is, memorable. Well, maybe they're not the best songs in the world, but they're memorable. You get, sure. You get them in your head. You can't stop thinking about them. But anyway, well, I appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thank you. It's always good to talk to you. Hopefully we'll be able to do things like this in person again soon.
Yeah, I hope so too. Neither one of us are scientists or
no
researchers, but we're praying and wear your mask, Jay. Tell Amanda I said hello. And she may not be my favorite Elon graduate. She's my second favorite, Elon.
Okay, I'll tell her that. She might be offended. I don't know.
Don't tell her that because I still may be in a hole. Don't tell her that, but she is my second favorite. Thanks for your time. All right.
Yeah, thanks, John. We'll see you soon.
Okay, bye now.
Bye.